Yes, look, I mean, I think this is an absolutely vital question, Jenny. I think you're right to ask it, and I have spoken to people in the SMEs in London who are feeling the pressure of rents now. What happens, because of the huge pressure on housing, what the businesses landlords are jacking up rents for small businesses, and it is vital that we do what we can to protect employment space, to create more employment space, and we're supporting that through the High Street Fund, which is creating 19,300 square metres of commercial space, supporting 680 businesses. You'll be familiar with all the Regeneration Fund money that we're putting into outer London high streets and places of work. This is, I think, a real challenge for the city, and I can tell you that Eddie, our planners, we are all focused very, very hard on preventing loss of workspace.
My problem is that there's a squeeze on existing businesses, because it's all very well to develop an area and say, oh, you know, the number of jobs is going up, but actually what's happening in several places, businesses that have been there sometimes for many, many years are being squeezed out because of the rent rises that you're talking about. And there's one example, for example, TfL has a lot of space that it's redeveloping. And at Parsons Green Depot, TfL are clearing out about a dozen very successful businesses, all kinds, including furniture makers and photographers and so on. And they're offering them places.
Where's this, Jim?
Parsons Green.
Parsons Green, right.
And actually, I would like to ask you perhaps to work with TfL and see if anything can be done about this.
Yeah,
it's not good enough to say there's more jobs and these people can be relocated 9 miles away. It's just not good enough when, you know, it's a local workforce quite often. There are people working locally. Will you speak to about this incident, about this particular issue, because you have some influence?
Yes, I certainly should. I'm not aware of the Parsons Green problem. You may remember that there was a great deal of concern about buildings in Hackney Wick.
Yes.
And
yes.
Actually, there's a huge amount of new space that's being created there for.
Yes, but you're driving out. I visited there as well. You're driving out businesses there already, brewers and all sorts of, you know, people
okay. Well, my impression was that perhaps you're right, but my impression was that we created a huge amount of extra space, and that's what I want to achieve. I'll look at the Parsons Green.
I would be very grateful. One of the things that you could do is to stabilise rents in some way on TfL's commercial premises and perhaps link them to inflation or something like that, so that businesses do have a sort of, they can project what their costs will be over the next few years. Because at the moment, just as you said, rents are rising exponentially, and it would help the businesses there already to stay put.
I will certainly look at that. Then don't forget, folks, we have all these conflicting objectives. Well, TfL is also told that it's the biggest landlord in London with a space the size of Hyde Park, and why doesn't it get on and develop these sites for residential? And yet, of course, it has conflicting obligations towards worthwhile businesses that are perhaps obstructing the creation of the very residential that the city needs. So that what I'm saying to you, Jenny, is that it is possible to for TfL to be between a rock and a hard place, and it will be damned either way. But I'll certainly look at it.
But for example, you've supported Tech City, where offices are being turned into flats and so on, and people there as well are struggling because of rents. And another constituent, Tom, runs a small web design company there. It took him a year to find a new office, and his rent has doubled. That just doesn't seem logical when you have a creative business that is a good business, it's functioning well, recruits, has local people, to drive them out because of the rent. One option would be for you, I don't know if you've spoken already to the Federation for Small Businesses, but perhaps talk to them about how to stabilise rents to some extent, so that such businesses don't get pushed away. I understand about the competing priorities, but the fact is, if you drive some businesses out, you are losing the character of a place as well as local jobs.
I completely agree. We've just established something called the Open Workspace Providers Group, which is looking at this whole problem. We have set up quite a lot of hubs, spaces where people can. You'll be familiar with 639 in Tottenham, the 639 Enterprise Centre in Tottenham High Road, the Camden Collective, which is providing co-working space and pop-up retail in vacant shops and ex-office buildings. We've funded something called the Black Horse Workshop from the Outer London Fund. The Outer London Fund, but there's a lot of money into this kind of things.
I know you're doing good work. I accept that, and it is very difficult. But at the same time, it's good to understand where things are getting squeezed out. Your officers at the moment are actually putting together all sorts of evidence for the new London plan for the new mayor. And the Federation of Small Businesses could do some research into this specific thing for those officers for the next London plan. Would you consider some sort of approach to do that? Because then you would have the facts and figures, and it wouldn't just be me lobbying you here at MQT.
Well, of course, this is something that the City Hall takes incredibly seriously, and as I said right at the beginning, I believe this is one of the real challenges that we are facing as a result of the colossal economic success of London, and it's just that the pressure on workspace is overwhelming. So yes, we are totally focused on it. If we can supply you, Jenny, with some a clearer picture of how what's happening, the spaces that are being lost, the plans we have to redeem that, then we'd be very happy to do so. And talk to Eddie, and we'll keep you informed.
Thank you.
Assembly Member